Um, Greetings, as I said, once again. I'm a student of Sri Chinmoy. I practice spiritual philosophy, and Prasanna, the poet, has asked me to read some of my poems and to talk a little about poetry and what it means to me. I'm very grateful for being given the honor to do so. And so, namaste, namaskar to all. Welcome, and thank you. Love touched me. It was so powerful, my breath became suspended, my heart shed blissful tears. I had not previously bathed in this sweetness, and I was taken aback. In my drunken haze, I tried to comprehend its music, mesmerized in the alcove of my being. Alas, it was to no avail, for a compelling delight silenced the intellect and calmed my soul. I saw myself emanating rhythms from the majesty of the sun. A pulsating light took hold of my darkness, smashing it into a trillion fragments. I became merged in a cluster of twinkling stars. I swooned in reverie, as if inebriated with wine, intoxicated by the splendor of my eternal home. I wish for the smile and the breath of silence. I wish I could sing like starlings, dart within the foliage of lush green leaves, display the eloquence of nightingales, awakening the flowers with magical words. I wish I could resonate like music, me floating on chords, whispering to the heart, I love you. Then I will dance with illustrious moonbeams, laugh with the shooting stars of heaven. I wish to disperse like clouds of dawn, revealing the splendor of the radiant sun, soaring like the immortal phoenix, to bask in the joys of perennial freedom. I wish I could flirt like the hummingbird, adorned in a tapestry of effulgent light, kissing the cheeks of morning glories, transmitting the light with vivacity. I wish for the smile and the breath of silence, offering praises to the glories of love. I wish to be a lover with you as my rose. I once sealed my memory to the wombs of afflictions and desires. Now you have kindled a flame of fire in my soul, so I could shine like the morning star. When my world seemed lost, my capacity to soar was stultified. You became a breeze above the clouds, dispelling my mistiness of shadows. There was a cold chill, an endless darkness in your absence. Now my heart awakes to the glories of shooting stars. Even as a fish enjoys the breath of the ocean, make me your udder to savor the milk of heaven's sweetness. Let my heart's lotus open like the flower to the dawn, for I wish to be a lover with you as my rose. If I could start my life once more. If I could start my life once more, I would cherish the laughter of discomfiture and cradle the darkness of a shadowed past. If I could start my life once more, I would treasure the thorns on roses and bow at the feet of my gross desires. Doesn't each new dawn follow night, the radiant spring, winter's dreary clouds? Alas, I knew not then. I knew not but despair and loneliness, sore adversity the enemy, not the friend, a flame of luster, opening my heart to impunity. Now I feel a longing which time itself cannot erase, a lover with nothing but tender words for his beloved, my soul in ceaseless agony for its true self. If I could start my life once more, I'll neither hinder nor erase the abyss. Love is busy enough, unraveling the pages of its mystery, as such as behoves us to admire, not disturb. Let me just say that I'm essentially a mystic writer, a spiritual writer. I'm a creative writer with the gift to do anything, basically. And I have written 3,000 poems on so many different things. But when I started meditation 42 years ago, I shifted my focus to the spiritual life. And so my natural default, if you like, is normally my natural genre is the spiritual life. I see myself as a soul or a medium of a higher light. And so for me, poetry is the soul, the voice of the soul, expressing itself in myriad ways according to the nature, the growth, or development of the seeker. Each seeker has his own narrative, and narratives are different, and rightly so. But the narrative relates to the spiritual rung of the ladder on which the individual sits. So some people sit on one particular rung of the spiritual ladder, another one sits on a different rung of the spiritual ladder according to his evolution. For many, poetry results from pain, poetry results from therapy. I've been through all that. And since each soul, to my mind and heart, has the same potential, then whatever I read speaks to someone in the audience or there. And I've had 22 years of practice, and so many people have come up to me, 30 audience, 40, over to 200 members of the audience who say different things to me that my poetry has gel with them. Could be one person, could be two people, but because each soul feels very, very similar things: despair, resentment, anger, greed, joy, benevolence. The soul feels certain things and is receptive to certain things at different period of its life. So each soul would relate to its own narrative and relate to poetry in his own particular way. My way is to express the joy of the spirit. I see myself as a vessel or vehicle for the divine, and I try to convey my messages in a very meaningful and impactful way to the people to whom I speak. So it's therapy for me in one sense, but at the same time, it's geared towards the upliftment and benefit and inspiration to mankind. I wish I could feel now what I felt then. I wish I could feel now what I felt then. You and I, hand in hand, picking winter sweet clematis, caressing the unseen purple of the redolence on our breaths, throwing snowballs to infinitude. I wish I could feel now what I felt then. Your smile painting its magical garlands on my gaze, my hopes and dreams blossoming like radiant lotuses, nature's sunsets, alluring my being with their enchantments. I wish I could feel now what I felt then, heart singing sweetly in the meadow of bliss, my soul bird dancing on the golden robes of moonlight, cradling my longing with speechless rhapsodies. I wish I could feel now what I felt then, your love like an arrow piercing into my spirit, a bewildering and wondrous wine, intoxicating my soul with the ecstasy of joy. Yet, even as my brush longs to stroke the past, I can only admire the sacrament of the present moment. Dawn is fast approaching. The beloved is playing with each moment in accordance with his dreams. So whenever I use the word love, I'm generally speaking of something higher. There's human love, which is an aspect of this higher love of which I speak. Love is the very pulse of being. The mystic doesn't separate them, but nevertheless, there are different levels. Human love generally is based on expectations and possession, and divine love is an unconditional kind of love. In this case, when I use love, I'm generally referring to the Most High, or a very higher kind of love. And now this particular one concerns a meditative experience. It's called meditation. Mind still, calm, serene and vacant. I'm transported by the soul's beauty into the inner realm of deep tranquility and vastness. It is like being at the bottom of the sea, where everything is hushed, silent, peaceful. On the surface, There's a multitude of waves, but I am in an aquamarine bed of sweet solitude. I reach out to my lover, my essence filled with the breath of an ambrosial wine. Tears flow from my inner sanctum, orchestrated by a bliss celestial, merging into the pangs of humanity's deepest sorrows. From the depth of a nameless presence, I speak to my beloved in silence, in full prostration, palms outstretched in reverence. I entreat, O love, please accept my prayerful tears as a token offering on behalf of your creation. I feel a flowering of my being merging into the singer of my song. We become one, beating the cadences of love's victory with heaven's supernal gong. Receptive to the wings of love, I pay homage to the one in the deep stillness of the heart's peace, the unspoken sweetness in the profundity of my soul. This next piece is about nature. It's called the Magnificent Plateau. And again, the divine is merged in. Everything is intermingling in my poetry, constantly intermingling and interdependent of each other. The Magnificent Plateau. Splashes of undulating white makes the ravine looks even more beautiful. We've seen these scenes before. Surges of aquamarine ripples beneath a canopy of blue sky and scattered clouds. You hold my gaze, a nature lover, watching the stream seeping through the magnificent cobbled stones on either side of the stunning canyon. The verdant hue of the foliage stands regal, enclosed by glorious gray rock walls, plus an amphitheater of magnificent cliffs dominating the lushness of this plateau. The harps of minstrels call to me, my beloved whispering melodies to hearts blending together as one in this breathtaking pinnacle moment of being. I gaze upwards, my soul spilling gratitude for this bewildering light of creation. Next one is similar, it's called The Journey Home. Into another womb I come, my love. I have known many mothers in this mystic play of consciousness. Whom then should I obey? Whom should I worship? I do not possess, neither do I wish to be possessed. Here in this dunya of my eternal lover, I am a spark of light, striving to manifest my own innate glory. Naked and alone I live, and naked and alone I shall return. Why the need for binding desires, for the ego of name and fame? I am but a tiny puddle lying on the lap of my divine mother. She plays with me as she wishes, like the rain that gives me memories of a soft, messy brown. The supreme alchemist loosens the strings even as she waltzes in my pendulums of life. Meanwhile, I thread the vision of many initiatives, a soul ever richer for these experiences, yet longing to return home. This is my final poem. It's a little over 3 minutes or so, I think. It's called The Light That We Are. I represent God's light. You represent God's light. All beings represent God's light. From the standpoint of the mystic, there is only spirit. There is only God. There is nothing else. There is only consciousness. Spirit with a capital letter S. And we're not talking about a ghost. We're talking about an ever omnipresent, omnipotent, an omniscient being, which is always here, otherwise known as love. That's all there is. There's nothing else. For the mystic, there is only love. And we are all aspects of this love or light, the light that we are. The womb is a sunbeam for babies, and mom herself was a lighthouse of sacrifice, concern, resilience, and fortitude for all her earthly life. We are all lighthouses, from you to the snow white moon, from love to the rose that reveals its grandeur. I am a spark of the light divine, walking, jogging, or running towards my destined source. I am a strand of music, sojourning to reawaken my own inner symphonies. I am a chord in the lute of lutes, that which manifests in the breath of starlings, sparrows, and canaries, waltzing with petunias and roses in the serenity and rhythm of spring's unfurling splendor. My sweet, sweet angels, outer challenges are only conduits for triggering our own inner struggles. Never forget that you're an immortal silence containing the sweetest melodies. All is as it should be. And in time, you will see that the price for lover, and loving was never enough. The thief moves in the darkness, even as the seer mimics the light. Yet nothing happens without the will of the higher love. Many fears are born out of loneliness and insecurities. Yet, so let us emphasize with those who find afflictions difficult to bear. Know, however, that the light is always within, and to cast outer blame is to ignore the more serious questions, whispering in silence from an inner voice to facilitate growth. Lantern says, be grateful to the one who you perceive to be hurting you. For aren't you the same soul 5 years later that has carved your wisdom from past experiences? And how did you learn to laugh if you knew no weeping? Where is the beautiful vase if the messy clay is not woven by a potter? Anyone once caught in a famine understands best the value of food. A man once lost in an arid desert becomes better able to point the way. There's a time for night to cast a shadow on the perennials, a time for the sparkling moon to wane. There's a time for the dawn to blanket the darkness with a canopy of light, a time for the awakening of a new and glorious sunrise. There's a time for chaos in the foundations of a building, yet know for certain that the blueprint hides the majesty of a Taj Mahal or the intricacies of the hanging gardens of Babylon. Daffodils fade into repose in winter, rise again in the grandeur of spring. Seamus la luz, let us be the light. Pain is only a storehouse of memories, holding on to guilt and regrets. The crushing of egos, so necessary for one's inner tree to bend, offering flowers and fruits with the virtues of humility. For it is in giving joy to others that we grow. In soulful service lies the light of enduring love. Let us be the light, knowing that experiences are necessary as they help us to grow, empowering its soul, striving to find its way home. Home here means our true nature, or what we call God realization or self-realization. We came from the divine. The soul comes into birth for experience, and in the act of experience, it goes through many lifetimes, which we call reincarnation. But the ultimate destiny of the soul, if you like, is total and unconditional surrender to the will of the Supreme, what the Christ called, let thy will be done. There are books that speak of it as self-realization or knowing one's true self or God realization, nirvana, or enlightenment. However, in mystic philosophy, God is in motion. God is not a static being sitting in the sky with what do you call it, long beard waiting to judge us. God is evolution in motion, and God is in constant movement. And in that sense, my teacher tend to speak of what he calls perfect perfection or self-transcendence. In other words, there is no end to the game. And the greater our spiritual experiences today, the higher it can be tomorrow, because life is an endless journey. Life is a constant and continuous evolution of the absolute supreme. So all these are a lot to take in, and in a way, it's sad that I haven't been given the opportunity here to answer questions, but I would stop at that point because my poetry is very rich and very deep, and I would like to leave it at that point for individuals to ponder. And so thank you very much for listening to me. My extreme gratitude and namaskar to Prasanna Ji and all my audience and those who aspire for higher light. You and I affect the world by the vibrations that we offer to the world. And the story of the three monkeys is quite literal truth. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And life itself is meant to be a constant evolution towards the higher light, towards the truest nature. And the way I like to describe it for myself is like, um, realization, manifestation, realization, revelation, and manifestation, all towards the unconditional surrender to the will of the Supreme or the will of the Absolute. Thank you. Yes, I'm still here. Prasanna is asking me to go on. He says we still have 10 minutes. So let us see. I will do a poem which is very different for Black History Month. October is Black History Month. And this piece is called Black Poetry Day, Color of Creativity. Baldwin was a genius, one as sharp, wise, and eloquent with his tongue and words, just as he was tricky and creative with his answers. He did not care for the way that suggested he knew what his opponent was talking about, but constantly referred to the truth, and I must say, quite articulately, of what he saw and knew from the light of his own experience. Maya was known for her sassiness and rhythm, but had that same inner fire too, only perhaps more tempered by the rain of mercy from within. She was born blessed, woven on the hammer and anvil of the supreme alchemist. Maya tap danced her vivacity and charisma to hearts international, like Aretha, singing from the profundity of her soul, both having known indignity and injustice, yet choosing the path trodden by empresses. They knew how to soar on the wings of lava, on Mother Gaia's energy, transmitting it as blessings to those most in need. Harriet and Nat were exemplary creatives whose hearts were colored in the crimson red of creativity. Spurred by an assertive resilience and dauntless courage, they died daily from the freedom of the enslaved so that others may live. Farewell, my brother. I may not have been at the pearly gates for your Elysian lap of victory, but my heart still hears the conch's blow, even as minstrels beat the djembes to welcome you at the supernal gates of paradise. Creativity is the light of love, expressed in and through the medium of its soul in a plethora of unusual ways in accordance with its origin, environment, nature, and development. The Ghanaian nanny of the Maroons led a very skillful guerrilla warfare against the exploitation of Black people in Jamaica, while Mary Seacole, another native, championed her nursing skills to bring the dying to life, using her healing hands to save others on the ships and battlefields of Crimea. Mandela's resilience and courage was the stuff of heroes, and the great Indian freedom fighters like Surya Sen and Subhash Chandra Bose had to be extremely creative to avoid being sent to heaven by the British Raj at any moment. Alas, Back in Tuskegee, Booker T displayed his genius with crops, while Frederick Douglass's sword was not only his pen, but his powerful oratory skills and political acumen, creating awareness of the basic rights denied the enslaved and impoverished in his country. Poetry Day is inherent in the ethnicity, origin, and culture of the African diaspora, woven in the blood of bigotry and inequity, pushing the Black poet to carve an essential niche for himself, herself, plus, to tackle the darkness of an abhorrent past, to move forward into the glory of tomorrow's sunrise. And let me find another one. Identity. I am a kaleidoscope of ebony and injustices in which tribe and culture will inevitably help shape my destiny. Who am I? I am a strand on the sitar of the music we call love, yet I can only walk with the moon in darkness. Creating chasms and divisions like a sliced tomato, huge waves of giant predators lash me against rocks with hostile intensity. In this illusionary chimera of life, identity embraces my moral compass and political persuasions, my religious beliefs, memories, values, and life choices from Nubian kings and queens, which may very well contradict that of others. Who am I? I'm paired with the duality of light and darkness, cold and warmth, walk with twinkling stars, even while dancing with the shadows of night, living an Eden of painful scars in my emotions. My mind's reactionary, and I tussle with the agony of prejudices perceived, attempt to deal with the weight of my burden of labels, engrossed in pain, while insecurity and loneliness slice my heart with scimitars. Who am I? I am the light I long to see, and change for sure begins with me. I struggle to rise from oppression, to improve my angle of vision, my environment, my darker impulses, the turbulent forces I cannot control in my quest for happiness. Solitude evades me like the tail of a dog. I'm forced to reminisce on the wisdom of the ancients, so I'll be free. Theirs was a golden path of dauntless courage, of light and humanity, of decorum and beauty, of selfless love. The sacrifice spoke to me of the glories of man, his ancestral wisdom, enfolding and insulating my heart with beauty. Yet I was called bad names, saw the indignity of kindred spirits, my women suffering the depravity of self-worth, of self-esteem. Shaped by life, I, a wayfaring vessel on tempestuous seas, wandered alone as clouds dispersed from the heavenly blue, no place to call my home, stumbling in a hollow maze of chaos and confusion. Who am I? I am a queen molded by the weaver of time, kept playing in mud like babies, just to get dirty again. I was once pristine like new plates, now I am stained and dirty, tempted by the residue of life's culinary flavor of illusionary meals. I am a child woven from an embryo, carrying seeds and blueprints of a DNA going all the way back to ancestral Africa. I marvel at the intricacies of birth while living in dread of demise to an invisible ghost pulling me to the end of my summers. Alas, like the deer that runs after its own musk, not realizing that it comes from its innate self, I have forgotten that golden light within from whence I came to ascend the winding path of righteousness in order to find my way home. That's about it, I think. I'll stop at that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, my listeners. Thank you, Prasannaji. I respect and honor and obey you. Namaste.